Okay guys, I'm going to be doing a video, well my friends have been asking for months. How I almost went to jail for 20 years. So, here's how it's going to go. I'm going to tell my story and that's basically it. It started on August, I think, 16th. I mean, it was the day before that. It was the day before school. Me and my friends were on Xbox Live, and I had this idea, which was really stupid, to post a school shooting meme. They laughed, I laughed, and I basically went to bed not knowing how big of a consequence that would be. I'm really starting to like this new format. Uh, and then once I got to school the next day, it was pretty normal. I hung out with my friends, just looked around everybody. And then, I guess someone snitched because in my second class, I got called to the office. And Mr. Hart was there. He was like, "Do you know why you're here?" It's been a long time, so I don't exactly know what he said. I'm like, no. Why? Like, you had a post that's a little, that's freaking kids out, which I don't know how that happens because I barely have anybody following me on Instagram. And he was like, someone told me that you posted this meme, right? I'm like, sure. And he's like, is this your account? What's your account on Instagram? I'm like, the big one. But that's what it was 4 months ago. And he looked he looked up the account, well, 5 months ago. He looked up the account. He saw the first post had the Engram Model 6 on the front of it. So I'm like, yeah, that's my post. He's like, and it says, yep, are y'all ready for school? Because I am. I'm like, yep. Is this your account? Yes. And then we started going through the images, and he's like, do you own any of these guns? I'm like, no. And he's like, how'd you post them? I'm like, I got them off Google Images. And then he got on Google, and I was like, and he was like, okay, tell me the first weapon. I'm like, the Engram Model 6. He typed it in, and he was like, how do you know this weapon? I'm like, I'm a guns enthusiast. And then we looked it up, and I said, see, there it is. It's the first picture on Google, or it was at like 5 months ago. And they basically called the cops on me, which was really stupid of Mr. Hart, no matter if it's the law or not. So I got to the police station, and they questioned me, which they shouldn't have done, and they started mentioning things they weren't supposed to mention. You're not supposed to mention previous events when talking about a current event. So they were like, yeah, so 2 years ago you threatened to shoot up the school. I'm like, yeah, I was a completely different person. Yeah. At the time I was on antipsychotics, which I'm pretty sure, I don't know why I was even put on those. Good for keeping the voices out of your head, I guess. Ah. And then they continued questioning me, and I heard a dog going in the back. And I was like, ah, crap. And they're like, don't worry, it's in the other room. I'm like, okay. My mom was crying, I don't know why. And she was like, why would you do this? I'm like, I just posted a joke, what are you talking about? So I got put in handcuffs, I got in the car, got car, of course. We were in Ludlow at this point. And then they drove me all the way to the courthouse, or what's next to the courthouse. I was in handcuffs. And we were walking through this weird garage I've never been to before. I was in handcuffs like this the whole time. So we were walking through here. We walked into this paddle gate with stairs next to it. There was a window where some guy was waiting for me, and I looked in the mirror and my eyes were green. It was the weirdest thing in the world. And then we continued going through here, and then all of a sudden we were in the courthouse. I'm like, so are we having the court today? He's like, no, we're gonna have it around September. I'm like, oh, okay. So we're basically in the house, and he says my story changed, even though I pretty much said the same thing like 6 times. Communicated on his little radio, hey, his story changed. I can tell this was a kangaroo court. It didn't really look good for me. So, after like a couple hours, I got driven home, and they actually kind of offered this idea that I should go to online school, which was pretty odd to kind of classify. So I learned my court date. It was around, I think, late September, early August, October, and it was kind of normal from now and then. They said my dad laughed when he was on the phone, which is pretty much bullcrap. And turns out, I guess some cops were a little corrupt, like this much. I don't know if you can see it. And it was kind of normal for a couple days. All I just had was a court date, and I just basically had to keep my nose clean. I made sure not to jaywalk. I made sure not to do anything illegal. And then my court date went up. But before then, everybody was asking, yo, what happened? Yo, what happened? Yo, this dude's a felon now. And before then, I was actually looking up this new law, and it said in the Kentucky law that it's a minimum of 20 years. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. A new law that gives you like almost a life sentence. And then the court date went up, and I thought that was going to be it. I thought I was just going to be sentenced to guilty or not guilty. I didn't know I just watched TV and didn't know there was more than two. I guess someone's moving. And then, yeah, I was at the court. I had a lawyer. At the time, we were with this assistant who was pretty short. He was surprisingly short for a man. And the judge was there, and she was like, I forgot, it's been like a long time. I guess she said, hey, do you know why you're here? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, do you regret doing anything that you did? I'm like, yeah. And she basically said, okay, meet me at this date. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. So it was now mid-October, which I had to go to the court, or like late October. Basically then, I couldn't really go around people, and she told me to stay off social media. I did as she did, asked, and basically I was off social media, which kind of hurt me because Millie had a bunch of stories and I kind of wanted to see them. She's my only inspiration to be alive. She's the only reason why I'm alive. Okay, so then we went to, when the court date went around and we were finally getting judged, I was there. I thought I was never going to see my parents again. We were talking with my lawyer, and we were settling things out. He went to the judge. I guess he did some magical lawyer stuff, because I was thinking I might not, but I was pretty happy that I might not get not guilty. I might get not guilty. But instead I got something called diversion. I didn't know what that was. I only had two choices. Either yoga or teen court. I didn't know what teen court was, so I went with the one I knew, which was yoga. Turns out they said I had to do either 6 months of yoga, or I can cut it down in half by 3 months. Which I was like, well, that's good. So I did the 8 months of yoga. No, not 8 months. 8 times I went to yoga every Wednesday. It ended December 18th, which yesterday was the 20th, and I had my video why I've been gone so long. This is why. I couldn't get on social media, and my mom being a little arrogant, she thought that YouTube was a social media, which it isn't. It's a streaming service. And I basically almost went to jail for 20 years. I was thinking the coolest thing is, I think this will probably never happen, but if I ever got on At the Prison Show, I'd just be like, yo, what a man. Someone went to jail for 20 years. My friend Joe Guerrero, he went to jail for 7 years. He got guilty for putting drugs in his car and for drugs. And that's a whole different story. He said it on his channel. I basically was almost in a kangaroo court situation, and I was actually saved by a lot of coincidences. Turns out Pat's wife works for the judge. My lawyer is really good. He's basically the best in the state. And there was this one cop I was pretty angry at, but turns out Mr. Hart's right-hand man kind of preferred me. So it turns out he had the same lawyer that I had actually helped his son. And so he felt a little pitiful for me. And he decided to help me, which was very odd of him. Usually he just stares at me the wrong way. And basically got diversion for 8 weeks. I finished it in 8 weeks. I don't know if it's actually truly over or I have to wait some more. It's just the oddest thing in the world. Well, for Andrew Lemur and John Couch, that's your answer. That's how I almost went to jail for 20 years. Thanks for coming.